Community Viewpoint with Maria Hurst.
Hello, welcome to Community Viewpoint. I'm your host for this segment, Maria Hurst. Very nice to be with you this evening. Tonight we're going to talk about something that gives you the heebie-jeebies a little bit, but we're going to talk about how we can get rid of those heebie-jeebies, and we're talking about bugs. Yes, bugs. And I don't know how many of you are creeped out like bugs, about bugs like I am, but we're going to talk to Jeff Wilson from Arid Pest Control, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how we can get rid of these critters and have our lives be bug-free. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And so my initial interest was like, let's talk about these cinch bugs. You told me they were called, and they're everywhere.
Yes,
they're everywhere.
They're horrible this year.
What's going on?
This is a cycle that we're going through right now. Every 6 or 7 years, when the El Nino cycle happens, these things hatch out en masse, and that's what we're going through right now.
Okay.
And we normally get them every year, but the numbers are real low most years. But we've had a lot of rain this year, and so the weeds have grown.
A lot of weeds. I noticed you brought one with you.
Yes, this is the wild mustard weed that we have out here. Now, from my own observations, anywhere I see this, I see these cinch bugs in huge numbers. They will feed on other things like wild grasses, other wild weeds. I've seen them go after pine trees, small pine trees, and suck them dry.
Oh, wow.
That was many, many years ago, 15 years ago, the last time that happened. We've had, since I've lived here, we've had 4 El Nino cycles. 2 of them have been real bad, 2 of them were very mild. The last 2 we've had have been mild. This one's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad, and we've seen them everywhere. I mean, everywhere I see weeds. Before the show, I was telling Jeff a little story about years ago. I saw them they were like massive, so I knew a little bit about them, and then when I saw them turn up this year, I was like, we got to educate people on this. We have to find out what to do. So obviously, if there's weeds, there's going to be these little cinch bugs. Now, do they bite people?
Technically, no. Okay. But they have what's called a stylus, and it's a small beak that they use to suck juices from the plants. I have heard people say, and I've seen the little marks on their legs when they're walking across their grass or through these weeds, that they'll, after like the following day, they'll have little red marks on their legs. And I think what's happening is when they get excited, they bury that little stylus in the skin. It's not enough that you feel it. It doesn't hurt. There's no toxin, nothing like this. But the following day, it itches, and so you scratch it.
Yeah.
And so it gets red.
And it could be itching too because of the weed or
well, of
allergies.
Course. Or just simply because you're seeing all these insects everywhere.
Yeah. I just get itchy just thinking about the bugs. What's another? So obviously for these, get rid of the weeds, right?
Yes. The best thing you can do is get these weeds out of your yard. What I've done myself, I have an old rock mower, and I mowed my entire property with it. It took 2 weekends, but now it's done. And that's not a cure-all. It's not going to take care of all of them, but it will keep the numbers at bay to a certain degree.
Not like massive like I've seen in the
Exactly,
past.
and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep these from really cycling up on your house.
Right. And so I'm thinking like for these weeds, like if you have some property that is undisturbed, don't disturb it, right? Because then the weeds won't grow the next year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea not to do that anyway. The ground gets a crust on it out here, and you want to leave that crust intact.
Until you're going to build on it or something.
Well, yeah, unless you're going to build on it. If you're going to build on it, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you've got just a fallow field next to you, then it'd be a good idea to leave it alone. That doesn't mean not cut the weeds off of it.
Right. But if it's natural desert plants.
If it's natural desert, leave it be. Don't go out there with your yard tractor and disturb the ground, because not so much for insects, for dust control. that is what especially at this time of year when we have the spring winds, it's not uncommon to look outside at this time of year and just the whole sky is just filled with dirt.
In the sky. It's like a low, it's our desert smog.
Yes, desert smog, that's
Right.
a good way to put it, yeah.
So what's another, I know these are very invasive this year. Is there anything else that's becoming a problem in town that people are calling about?
Bed bugs.
Oh.
Bed bugs are really becoming an issue, and these things are incredibly hard to get out of homes.
Really? And where are we getting these? I mean, where are they coming from?
It's hard to say
Travel,
exactly.
you think?
Well, travel, that's how they come to our town.
Okay.
Now, back when my grandfather was a young man, bed bugs were quite common all across the southern United States and even up into the northern areas as well. Generally, people now anyway, where you see most of it is in hotel rooms, where you have people traveling. They'll be, say, in Texas one day and then Nevada the next, right?
Okay, and they had like unwelcome guests in their luggage.
Exactly. So whenever you're traveling, make sure that you check your room. And one place that you really need to check that a lot of people don't think of is that little rack that their luggage sets on. Because there's lots of little areas underneath that.
And that's usually what people use. They think that their luggage is safe on that little rack. But those little strips that go across the rack are fabric.
That's right.
Okay.
And so these are all little hiding areas. And it's not just the adults you're looking for, the eggs and the young, which are incredibly small, microscopic. So you won't see them. There's no way to check for these, of course. It's you know, you just hope that you don't bring them home.
So what do you do to eradicate them here? Once you get a call, and I mean, is there a period of time someone has to move out so you can take care of the problem?
No, not usually. It depends on how bad it is. If we're only talking about, you know, they've only seen a couple, then usually there's not much that the homeowner has to do except the beds are, of course, sometimes depending on the shape of the bed, we have to get rid of the beds. And I suggest you do that unless for financial reasons, whatever you can. I'll try to save what I can. All clothes have to come out. All the clothes have to come out of the closets, out of all the chest of drawers, because I got to break the room down. I got to be able to spray this entire room. And usually what I use is basically I'll go in and I'll spray and I'll leave sticky traps around all the problem areas. So I want to find out where the hot spots are.
Because those are are they like as big as an ant? I've never seen one, thank God.
They're about a quarter of an inch. An adult's about a quarter to a half. Not
That's
quite
pretty
a half
large.
inch.
That's a pretty large bug.
Yeah, you can see those.
Okay.
It's the eggs and the babies that are hard, the larvae that are really difficult to see because they're so small.
But the sticky traps, that's what alerts you to where they're at.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually when I come in, I let the customer know what they have to do to get this room ready to be treated. And then I'll start it out with a spray first, and then I'll put sticky traps down throughout the room to find out where the clusters of them are. And then once I find that, now I can narrow my parameter down to that and take them out. Generally, it can take anywhere from, to get them completely out of your house, it can take anywhere from a month to 3 months.
But it's possible.
But it is possible. It is possible.
As long as you follow protocol.
You have to do exactly, that's the biggest problem, is people have a hard time getting rid of things that, you know, or oh, it's not that bad. And so they'll fudge on different things, and then all of a sudden,
here it is again.
Here it is again. And this is something, there's no arguing with nature. And no matter how much you try to wheel a deal with me. I can't do nothing
Right,
about
you're
this.
not in
This
control.
is nature. I could just
You don't
tell you
have
what you got to do.
a little headset talking to the
That's
bugs
right.
and saying, "Get out of there."
Exactly. You know, but you have to do the things that you have to do to get rid of them.
Okay.
I would rather have roaches in my house than these things by far, and they're much easier to get rid of than bed bugs. Bed bugs are really difficult.
But you've got the protocol down.
We can do it. We can do it. And
Let's show
it
that
just takes
number
time.
really quick. Call that number. Call this man if you have this problem. Get rid of it. So since you mentioned roaches, let's just segue into those a little bit before we go. So
Okay.
you handle other insects, rodents, any pest. So rodents. You said what was that? You said
Oh,
before the
gophers.
show. Gophers. Okay.
We do gophers. We do pigeon abatement. Unfortunately, the laws are such that it makes it really difficult for that. We could only do exclusionary tactics. We can't kill them like we used to.
Oh, the pigeons.
Yes, which is
Okay.
really not a good thing because the numbers are getting huge.
And pigeons also have their own problem because they have their own insect problems.
You bet.
They have like
bird
mites?
mites.
Yes.
Bird mites. Absolutely. They can be
Okay.
a serious issue, and they also can carry diseases. Like most creatures, as long as their numbers stay within a reasonable level, there's no real danger. But when you have huge explosions, that can be an issue because now these things are living very close with us now. And there
With all
can,
the diseases.
That's right, and you can have some spill off of sicknesses.
Okay.
And so they are a vector disease, and so you want to be careful with that. I know a lot of people out here are animal lovers, and I understand this. I am too. I have my own animals as well, but we have to kind of temper this with logic and reason.
So some of these rodents, gophers, pigeons, if you do these exclusionary tactics, then sometimes nature will take care of itself. Like you said, you can't control nature. So maybe other mammals, birds, they'll come in and
Well, yeah,
help us
nature,
out.
actually nature is probably your best pest control in the world.
Okay.
I've had a lot of people that wanted me to, to power spray their whole yards and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But that really doesn't work very well because the predatory insects take a lot longer to rebuild their numbers than the cattle-like insects. So all of a sudden you'll have all these insects like roaches and there's nothing there to take care of them.
Right.
And so then all of a sudden you have a problem there.
Okay.
It's usually best just to treat the areas that need to be treated
Okay.
and not go out too much. You don't want to throw pesticide all over the place.
Right.
And all of us have wells,
Call a professional.
so we all want to
Thank
be
you.
careful on these things.
Okay. You're going to have to come back because I have more questions. But we're out of time right now. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Community Viewpoint with Maria Hurst.